Hello, Dr. Onaysia. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing? Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate it. And you see, Dr. Onaysia, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Dr. Onaysia, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invest it in yourself. And oftentimes I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, just recently, Dr. Onaysia, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes. Now I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely experience that day. I was so excited. I tell you, here is my point: the fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Dr. Onaysia that you are today. That alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show, because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you are offering your solution. These stuffs are amazing. And just before I sent the request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Dr. Onaysia is doing, not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we had a day with the amazing Dr. Onaysia. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite, because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for that amazing introduction.
Beautiful.
Honored to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for, let's say, two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Dr. Onaysia, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you say, ever since I realized that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Dr. Onaysia on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Dr. Onaysia, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Dr. Onaysia got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Dr. Onaysia, over to you.
Thank you, Elijah. So I will try not to be too long with my journey because it has been a packed one for sure. But I am a physical therapist by trade, and so it all really started when I got my doctorate and I was able to graduate as the one and only Latina in my entire class. And so that was a bold move in itself. And it came with a lot of grit and a lot of just seeing beyond myself and putting myself out of a situation that felt, really dark, I guess you would say, because nobody looked like me and I had to go first. And so that's really been the trend in my entire life is that I'm always the one to go first. I'm always, the one that people look up to and that people can rely on. And so I use that strength to propel me forward and cross the stage on that day that I received my doctorate. And so then I was pushed into the corporate world. I was not really understanding how it was such a big mismatch from what I was told that I would end up doing, which was changing the world, right? Being a physical therapist, you get to heal people, you get to change their lives, you get to be, again, that go to person for these people to get better. And so I quickly realized that the medical system was not everything that I was taught in my classes and throughout my education. It really was more so a business and not necessarily a business that was to help people better themselves mentally and physically, but more so a business in terms of how many of those people can we churn in and out and how many can we fit in one small increment of time. And so within that 3 months, I really got super burnt out and I got detached from the vision and the mission that I've always set out to do, which is to help people both mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so I pivoted into another location, went there. It was actually worse. It was very unethical there. The practices that they were doing were not in alignment with my values. And so me being me, I spoke up. I spoke up and I said, "Hey, this isn't okay. This isn't what I signed up for." And the next day I was fired. And so in this moment, I was frustrated with myself because I was like, "Hey, I've gone this far. I should have just stuck quiet." But then I stopped and I retracted my statement. I said, no, like I've always been someone that stands up for what other people don't feel comfortable saying. And I stood in my power in that moment. And that's actually what catapulted me into the journey that I'm on now through entrepreneurship, through coaching, and being able to help women with their businesses, help them to take bold action and stop doubting themselves, but start standing in their own power so that they too can increase their impact and further their entrepreneurial journey. So I'll stop there, but I ended up starting my own clinic. I ended up starting my own coaching practice, and here we are.
Amazing. You see, one of the things that stood out just by listening to you is the part where you discovered that what those folks are doing aren't in alignment with your values, and you spoke about it, and they fired you. You see, there are a lot of folks who are in many companies or organizations who are doing things that are against their value, but they don't have the should I say courage or the effrontery or the God to speak about it because of the security aspect. Oh, if I speak about it now, they might fire me, and how am I going to meet up with all of the bills and all? Folks like that now, if they get to listen to that part where you said you spoke up, you might ignite something within them. So I love the fact that you shared that with us. That's a brilliant one. And thank you for the beautiful stuff that you're doing. So let's pick the first question from here. All right. Now, how can someone stop performing for approval and start living for themselves?
Yep. So that's a great question. I love the opener. The first thing that you can do if you're looking to stop performing a life that doesn't fit is you need to start getting in touch with your own inner voice. And this is something that is actually silenced throughout childhood and affects us throughout adulthood. But you have to get to the root of where that initially started in order to unpack it and reverse it. So, for example, for me, I've always been a bold, courageous child, but oftentimes people would tell me that my mouth would get me in trouble. And now that same mouth is what makes me my money and what is allows me to make the impact that I make. And so I wouldn't have ever been able to learn that and to uncover that if I never looked back and followed pretty much the breadcrumbs and the trail of who I've been all along. So the first step would be getting to know who you are, not just now, but who you've been throughout your entire life and the trend and that essence of who you are to be able to figure out who you're becoming and who you are turning into as a leader and as a visionary over your life.
I got that. I got that. That was well explained. Okay, what about this one? How do I start choosing myself without feeling guilt?
Yeah. So this is a question that a lot of my clients have. And it boils down to you caring about what other people think over yourself. Because when you don't care about what other people think, the only opinion and the only person that really holds value is yourself. And some people can consider this to be selfish, but it's not selfish actually. Because if you don't value your own insights and your feelings and your aspirations, then nobody else is going to do that for you. And so, in order for you to hone in on what you want for yourself, you need to block out all the distractions. You need to stop thinking about what this person is saying, what that person is saying, and hone and literally put the blinders up to enlarge your focus on what you want for your life, where your values lie, and where you're headed, and what that vision looks like in your life.
In your life? I got that. So why do you say that burnout is a symptom of generational?
That is a deep question. Burnout really is a multidimensional component of life. And when I originally started the work that I do in my coaching, I saw burnout as a standalone concept, but it really has multiple layers to it. Because number one, if you are an overachiever, you're a high performer, burnout is not accepted as burnout. It's more so your baseline. And so that's what I realized through the work that I took my clients through is that when you're an overachiever, and being an overachiever is very, very directly tied to generational cycles, right? Because you're expected to overachieve what your mom did, what your grandma did, what your great grandma did, specifically being an immigrant, specifically being first generation. And so that generational guilt is what causes you to continue to perform and what causes you to continue striving for more success. But then you're so accustomed to being in that fight or flight state, you're so accustomed to being in survival that you're not aware of the state that you're in. That's just your normal, that's just your baseline. And so where the guilt pours in is when you start doing more for yourself, you start like retracting back from the hustle culture, and it feels abnormal. It feels out of place, but it really is where you're supposed to be. And that's actually where you're able to harness the most creativity, where you're able to make the most impact because you're coming from a space of true intention over your life versus intensity. And when you're in that intense phase, you're just going to fizzle out and you're not able to perform your best. I hope that answers your question.
I feel really blessed right now, and educated. Now I see why you're so good at what you do. Okay, let's talk about purpose. So what does it mean to truly find your purpose?
So, when you truly find your purpose, you know innately within every fiber of your being that you are on the right direction. And I don't ever speak in terms of purpose without calling honor to the highest, which is Lord Jesus Christ. Because in order for you to have that alignment with what you're doing and knowing that the work that you're doing, knowing that the road that you're going down is in alignment with you, but not only you, with the highest above, that is true purpose. And it comes with confirmation. So, in terms of specifically with me, I work with women in their businesses and entrepreneurs. This is a soul led journey. And so, when you are uncertain about what your next move is, what your next decision is, you not only have to have that self awareness, that confidence, that ability to make decisions over your life, but you also have to have that connection with God in order to be on the right path, in order to make the right income. Because without that, you're going to be lost regardless. No matter how many business consultations you go to, no matter how many strategists you go to, you will never find that purpose until you have both those two factors compounded into one.
So true. And to God be all the glory. I love that. Okay, so what generational patterns must be broken to live freely? Mm,
So, the number one generational pattern that must be broken is I am afraid to charge my worth. So many women that I work with are talented, have over 15, 20 years of experience, are literally the most qualified, educated women in the room, and they still are doubting their ability to move forward with their value and with their worth for fear of not being accessible. Generationally, we have always wanted to lift up our communities and to provide value and to support those who look like us and those who grew up around us. That is true, right? That can be true, but not if we devalue our services and prevent true income and impact to flourish in. If you allow yourself to be accessible to everyone, then you prevent yourself from truly supporting one person and one type of person, right? So then that limits your ability to make an impact. But when you focus on that one solution that you're providing for that one person, you are going to maximize your ability to serve, because then that is going to allow your income to projectilely increase. And then you can go back and say, hey, now I have the ability, now I have the opportunity to go back and provide pro bono services, provide, maybe like a healthcare clinic that is free of charge, provide meals, start a nonprofit. But all of these things cannot happen if you don't start with charging what you're worth. So that would be the number one thing.
that's profound. I got that. Okay, so the last one. What's your advice for someone who is scared to take the
My advice is the only thing that's holding you back is yourself. Because without trusting yourself, you will never make it anywhere in life. And this is in career, this is in business, this is just a blanket statement, because the only way that successful people have gotten to where they've gotten to is by taking risks, is by taking bold action, is by radical belief in themselves. And if you don't have that, then you are always going to stay stagnant. So what you need to do is you have to look at where you're at and where you want to go, and anchor yourself to that vision, to that person who's already done the leap. When you focus on you and your abilities and your skill sets now in the present, all that pours out is judgment and self-doubt and blame. And so in order to filter that out, what you have to do is see yourself as the person who's done it already, see yourself in the future, 5, 6 months from now, who's already done that, and then act like that person, move forward like that person, because they've done it. So there's no doubt of what they can do. So be them. My advice is be them now. Be that person now.
be that person now? I got that. I get that. Awesome. So to bring this to an end, Dr. Onaysia, for folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything we've discussed so far, or open your services, how can that be possible?
Yeah, so I also have a podcast. It's called The Selfish Shnaub, Stepping into Your Power. So you can go ahead and follow that. And then you can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn at Dr. Onaysia. That's Onaysia, Dr. Onaysia Martinez. And then my website is Love You Girl, LUVUGURL.com to learn more.
Beautiful. So that's going to be the end of the show, Dr. Onaysia. Thank you for coming and thank you for sharing this beautiful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you.